We will talk about AMP impact, road mapping, and prioritization. Although we'll talk about the techniques that we use for AMP impact, the road mapping and prioritization process is common to all products. It's a common practice across product management. So the principles are going to be the same. Now, before going into the specifics of it, I was just trying to search if I could find a user guide from the early days of AMP impact. Let me know if you
Yeah.
can see this, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So if you look at this, and I hope you have gone through the AMP impact case study, so you are aware of AMP impact and the current feature set that we have. So if I look at this, you'd see that it's quite simple. If you look at frameworks, it's creating and managing your objectives, adding your project indicators and related data to framework. And then for risk, you have a few things. Basic risk management, uh, no risk relationships. The assessment here was quite simple. Even if you look at indicators, it's very simple. If you look at the data types which are available for this, if I go to indicator, you would probably see they are quite limited. So the point in, and this is for 2019, if I'm correct. So it's 5 years later. Uh, Now we are building Nashira release. This, if I remember correctly, is for Bellatrix release, which was, I think, the fifth or sixth release for AMP Impact. We started naming releases, I think, with the fourth one. So we started with Aquila and then Bellatrix. This was the second named release. And it's one of the early ones. And you can see like how the product has grown. Now that brings us to the question, how do we figure out like what to build for AMP Impact? How do I know that for managed frameworks, these are the features, these are the current feature set, but I also need to build some other feature set for clients to find it valuable, right? That's where and that's common to all products, not just AMP Impact. Products grow over time. They start with what's called a minimum viable product. You might have heard of it. It's an MVP. It meets the minimum require. It's supposed to meet the minimum requirements of our clients and still provide enough value that users can start using it, right? That's where we start with. And then products become a lot. Like if you track Salesforce's history, you would see like it started with basic CRM and now it's a cloud computing platform where you can do a lot. You can build a lot of apps on top of it. Like you can basically, it's a business OS for you. You can drive all your business processes if you want on Salesforce. Same for other products. The products that you use day to day, you can see those evolving as you work with them. So how do products and the product teams identify what they should be building, right? Do you want to take a guess, or like it's a pretty obvious question, but how do you think we find out what are the requirements? Yeah, Divija.
Mm. By understanding business needs.
Yes, exactly. By understanding business needs, if you are a B2B product, and understanding user needs if you are a B2C product. Because AMP is a B2B product, so in AMP's context, yeah, we need to understand business needs and also user needs to identify these are the things that we need to build. So for example, in this case, if the managed framework functionality provides these things as of now, uh, we would talk to our clients, we would understand what their current business process are and how AMP Impact is working with it, what are the gaps, and how can we build for those gaps. Then we take those requirements and we add those to our roadmap. Now we'll discuss that process today. It looks like a quite a simple process, but there are, as you would imagine, users and clients want a lot of things, and then deciding what to build when, it becomes an art and a science. So we'll discuss how do the products team do that in general, and how does we do that for AMP Impact in specific. So the product team gets a lot of requirements. These might be internal or external um, via a lot of different channels. So we can get requirements on mail. someone noticed something, they're building a solution, a custom solution for the client, and they thought it's a good idea to have this in AMP Impact. They flag it to us. We can get this over Slack, that we are talking to this client and they have these requirements. Can we build this? We also get these requirements on CS board, where an existing client might want a change in the feature. So we basically either get requests for new requirements, to enhancements to existing features, or there might be bugs in the feature that are flagged to us, and we'll have to resolve them. In addition to that, because like any other digital product, AMP Impact also acquires technical debt over time. By technical debt, I mean, as product grows and as technology grows, organizations figure out that the technology that they have worked with is not relevant anymore, or it's bursting at seams. So we need to bring the product to the new tech. That's basically tech debt. So our engineering team also identifies that, for example, if we are working with Salesforce, there are a few things that we build with process builders. Now Salesforce is saying that we'll pull the support for Salesforce builders early 2025. So we need to move those to flows. That's a tech debt for us. Although nothing changes in terms of business process, the flow for clients and implementers, it's going to be the same. But for us, it's good practice to keep up with new tech. So we have tech debt, we have bugs, we have new requirements which can come through Slack channels. We have product officers, client requirements can come through different teams, and we have a AMP Advisory Council. AMP Advisory Council is a collection of team representatives from basically client rep teams, but also other teams as well. So we have reps from BT team, consulting team, success teams, and they can be the voice of customers, clients for us, and they can also be they can also ask questions about AMP Impact development and roadmap. So basically it serves as a channel where the information flows to and through the product team. Tools. So we have a bunch of different types of requirements coming through different channels, and through some channels these requirements first come to CS board, but if we identify these things internally, it doesn't really need to go to CS board. It can directly be added to the tech debt, bug, and epic. An epic is a big requirement. So for example, let's say I'm adding support for a new data type for an indicator. That's a big feature. That's a new requirement that we are addressing now. So that's an epic. If it's a small requirement or if it's an enhancement, it's generally a user story. So for example, I think we can look at this. This is a good example of enhancement. When this requirement was logged, clients could only enter comments for project indicators up to 255 characters, but UNDP wanted more. This is a good example of feature enhancement that they want to enter more than 255 characters. So based on these requirements, we identify if it's a tech debt or a bug or a feature, a new feature or an enhancement, and that is added to different types of backlogs that we have. You can think of a backlog as a list, which it's a long list, which has all the things that we need to do for the product. Actually, let me show you what the backlog looks like on Jira. Jira is giving me trouble, but I can share the roadmap that we have on Excel right now. It will give you some idea of the types of requirements do we have. So this is the backlog of requirements that we have for AMP Impact. And as you can see, it's a lot of requirements. It's around 250 requirements. And then these are classified into either epics, enhancements, bugs, or tech debt. And they belong to different modules in AMP Impact and all. But yeah, basically, like if I get through all these channels, you get a lot of requests, and then we add those to the backlog. Once these requirements are added to the backlog, we need to basically make sense of these requirements or validate these requirements. We can't work on every single requirement. There are many reasons to it. First, we should not work on every single requirement. Just because a client has a requirement doesn't really mean that it belongs in the product. In this case, AMP Impact, it might be that it's a very specific use case that works for this client, but it will actually hamper the business process for other clients. So we need to validate if it's a valid requirement for most of our clients. That's the first thing that we need to do. Second thing, we also need to identify the impact of a requirement versus the effort it's going to take. For example, if there's a requirement which says that we need to build very advanced analytics capabilities for AMP Impact because we want to do cross analysis of data and Salesforce reports, they don't provide that. Now we can do that, but we know that a lot of our clients, or let's say by data, by analytics, or by talking to these clients, we know that a lot of our clients use Microsoft 360 suite, which means they have Power BI, which means that they have a cost-effective way of visualizing that data and integrating that data in Salesforce. So if they can do that already, um, the value of us building analytics feature, analytics capability in AMP Impact, it's going to be very costly because it will take a lot of effort, but the value to the users probably might not be that much because they already have something that they can do that, right? So that's another decision that we have to make. We have to establish the value of a feature. Once we do that, and we also try to understand that requirement, what is the business process, how is how is this feature going to help our clients, where in their business process it lies, um, which other features it might impact, and basically do an impact analysis of those requirements. Once we do all that, we add the basically by having these discussions, we are able to understand the priorities for these requirements, and we are able to add those priorities. We'll go through this in detail for AMP Impact, like how we exactly do it, but this is the general flow that this would be applied to any project out there. And we'll also decide whether it aligns with the strategy or not. Like if we have decided that we are going to build AMP Impact to solve for these use cases because we want to solve for certain pain points in our clients' business processes, we'll have to make a call whether this new feature request aligns with our strategy or not. Once that's done, we add the RISE codes. We'll talk about what the RISE codes are, but basically it's a combination of reach, impact, confidence, and the estimates on the feature. How much reach this feature can bring us, what's the impact on our clients, how much confidence do we have in this feature, and what are the estimates, what is the effort to build this feature. After that, we can basically distribute solutions in two ways. We can provide the solution as part of AMP Impact, or we can provide that solution as an add-on. So if you have you guys gone through the grant plugin or the grant application plugin uh, in the case study? Right. So if you have gone through that, you know what AMP Impact and an add-on is. And like if you even use other products, you might be aware of the concept of either a plugin or an add-on. It's something that you have a core product and then you can add a plugin on top of it or add an add-on on top of it. Sometimes it's paid, sometimes it's free, but basically it serves the purpose of incrementally solving problems and giving clients the ability to only have in their system what they need. So if they don't need a certain functionality, they don't need to install that and use that much space in their organization because it's a plugin. They can choose to opt in if they want to. So we decide how we are going to distribute it, either as part of AMP Impact or as part of solution library. And then if it's part of AMP Impact, we add this to the roadmap. And then if by the process of release management, these features from AMP Impact are added to a release. We'll discuss how that happens. But basically, the most valuable features make to the current release. So if I have a list of 250 items on my roadmap, I would identify the most valuable features to our clients and add those to a release. Now, this is a theoretical concept. It should happen that way, but there are feasibilities, there are constraints around a release, and we can't always get the most valuable features in a release. A simple example is you have 4 months to build a release. Now, let's say your top two features or top three features take in total 6 months to build those. You can't really get all three features in that release then. So what you'll do is you'll probably get two of the most valuable features, and then you'll get some enhancements, smaller enhancements, which don't have that much value, but they can be fixed in the time that we have left. So yeah, you basically identify like how much time do you have, how many developers do we have, and then identify these are the things that we can build in this release, which will have the maximum impact for our clients. Then the roadmap is updated and communicated to everyone in Vera, so that teams that are directly working with clients, in this case, let's say the BD team, consulting team, customer success team, they would know what's coming up for AMP Impact and what's part of the current release. And when they are talking to clients, they can have informed discussions with them. Cool. So that's the high level of the AMP Impact release road mapping process. Any reactions on this?
Um, on the alignment of strategy, what do we mean by strategy? Like, are we deciding it when we are creating backlog, or
Yeah,
like?
that's a great question. I should have elaborated on that. So uh, every organization has a strategy, right? They have a vision and they have a strategy on how they are going to achieve that vision. So, for example, this should have been like, you must already know that Vera's vision is to save time, money, and headaches for our clients. You know, right? Now, Vera has a strategy to achieve that vision, which is to provide consulting services, product services, and service delivery via the SD team uh, to basically solve for these problems and achieve the vision that we have. Now, when it comes to AMP Impact as a product has a strategy which aligns with Vera's strategy to achieve that vision. Now, AMP Impact, uh, we can say that, okay, in the impact management space, we are going to focus on frameworks and indicator management. And we are going to build the best indicator management in class, which will provide our clients uh, a very flexible and customizable way to track their frameworks and track the progress of their projects. We can have multiple things that some principles that we have in for AMP Impact, and this is generally true for a lot of B2B enterprises, that we want to be closer to clients. We want to be understanding of their needs. We want to build as close to Salesforce as possible so that our clients who have Salesforce capabilities in their team, they can use that to customize and maintain AMP Impact as well. We want to be as customizable as possible because we understand that the social impact space is such that it's not a mature industry yet. Like, by that I mean that the business processes out there, they are not set in stone. So for example, if you're building a financial product, you know that different industries follow different financial practices and they are very well defined. There are certain ratios that you calculate. There are certain uh, artifacts like balance sheet and all. Those are the things that you know that every organization will create. And you can use that to create a product which is standardized, which works a certain way. In social impact space, different types of organizations measure the impact of their projects very differently. And this is further complicated by the geographies that you're working with. government requirements in those markets. So it's going to be different. And to address that, we have to build AMP Impact in a customizable way. So that's one of the principles that we have, right? Now, if there is a feature which comes in, which we can't build in that customizable way, like it's a very specific requirement, it doesn't really have the scope of customization, or if we build customization, it's going to be very costly to build, which means that it will take a lot of time for us to build. Then we like that means that it doesn't really align with the strategy and it will go lower in the roadmap unless those constraints and feasibilities are taken care of. So for example, if Salesforce releases a technology and that constraint is taken care of, building that feature becomes easier for us. It will make its way to the top of roadmap again. So that's what's meant by aligning with strategy. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. I think I'll need a quite time to process it, but like what I understood is that through customization, we are aligning with Vera's value and AMP Impact's value to serve the needs uh, of the client's need through prioritization and the constraints you're facing.
Yeah, customization is an example.
Right.
There can be other use cases.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem. All right, let me take a hypothetical scenario, right? Let's say you are the product manager for AMP Impact, and the service delivery teams comes to you and they tell you that there is a very important client. It's one of AMP Impact's biggest client, which contributes a lot to our revenue. They are facing a major bug, and we have to solve for this bug. Otherwise, this client is not going to be happy, and it's going to escalate. It's going to be problematic for us. Um, and then you have your roadmap. You have all tickets already prioritized on it. You know that there are other features on the roadmap which are going to be valuable for all the clients, right? They are probably more valuable to other clients than this bug that we are going to solve for this one specific client. What would you do in that case?
Um, Maybe applying the RISE strategy of how much effort we are, how much effort is going to take and time, and then how important it is. Again, if it's very important, then we might allot some time in the roadmap to bring that feature for them.
Yep. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Yes, we can do that.
Maybe we can consult with other teams as other clients as well. Maybe show them that this feature is there, and if it could be useful for them, they could provide us with their insights.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to get as much insights, as much data as we can for a feature or a bug. Anything else, anyone?
Yeah, just consulting with others and prioritizing it on the basis of the if it is affecting the business or not.
Right.
If it is affecting the business, then we have to really include it into our roadmap and have to resolve it on the priority.
Yep. The impact is a big criteria, impact on different businesses. It's also part of the RISE scoring. The I part in RISE is impact. So yes, we should estimate that.
If it results in potentially losing this big important client, then maybe prioritizing the bug would be a good idea than building new features that we haven't tested yet.
Yeah, exactly. Like basically establishing the impact of the new feature versus the impact of bug, and also the confidence on it, because resolving the bug, we know we can say with like 95% confidence it's going to impact this client. New feature, probably the confidence is not that high. We have talked to clients, we have understood that it's they want this, but all in all, the confidence would not be as high as in resolving the bug.
Right.
Or there would be a case that if resolving this bug might be a good result for other customers too. Like it get results for all, and all of the customers will be happy with that also. Very
Yeah,
solved.
yeah, 100%. Trying to figure the reach of the bug, and trying to understand how many clients it might impact.
Yes, basically, if that is a great number, then it will also impact the business and the revenue.
Right? Yes. Cool. So all of these are valid things. Like we should do all of that. So basically, if I understood what you guys said, is to establish the rise score for this bug against the items on roadmap or the items currently added to on the top of roadmap or the current release. So reevaluating that and seeing where this bug comes in, right? But let's say we did this exercise. First, doing this exercise takes time. You'll have to reach out to all the clients or a lot of clients that you think might be impacted by this. Wait for their feedback to come in. Then you'll be able to establish the reach. Let's say we reach out to 50 clients and then 25 come back to us in a month. Some might come back in a week. Some might come take a lot more time. So this things takes time. Establishing the reach, and then impact, again the same thing, we'll have to talk to clients to understand what's the impact on this. But let's say we were able to establish the rise score quite quickly. We established that by talking internally, getting some estimate, making good guesses, talking to a lot of internal stakeholders, we sort of figure out that okay, this is going to be impactful for 5 or 6 of our bigger clients. So this is the new rise score for this. But the rise score for one of the top features is again, like that is greater in terms of impact, because other clients value that new feature more, and they are not really worried about this bug because they don't use this business process that much, right? Now this happens time to time. So earlier when I said that adding items to a release or road mapping or prioritization is both a science and an art, that's what I meant by it. We can have a mathematical formula to support the decision making, but that mathematical formula doesn't dictate what's going to be in the release. That's a decision that's made by a group of people who understand the consequences and the impact of adding these items to the releases. So what happens is that when we have this roadmap, we can look at this, for example, and we have this roadmap, we have identified all this data. We probably have a column here for rise scoring where this rise score is added for everything. Based on that, we have a discussion in the advisory council. Do you guys know what advisory council is? So AMP Impact Advisory Council is a group of representatives from Vera who advise AMP Impact on decisions related things like these requirements and solutions. So we have representatives from business development team, customer success team, service delivery team, consulting team, solutions architects, all people who are working on implementation of AMP Impact and talking to clients regularly. So they are the voice of the client and voice of the user for us. They inform us that these are the considerations for building AMP Impact. So once we have that discussion, in addition to establishing the impact for clients, there is another type of impact, and that is business impact. Uh, the impact of feature on Vera as a business, as an organization. So if we build this, so for example, what's not taken care of by RISE, right? What's not taken care of by RISE is that there is a client who's very important to us, and our relationship with them right now is a little here and there, right? Like it's a little troublesome. We need to build this feature for us for time being, especially at this time, because we want to improve that relationship. That's one of our strategic goals. Now, this type of subjective knowledge, it can't be part of a mathematical formula. You can't really create a neat formula that takes care of everything. Like however much you try, building that formula, it's complex. Like industry change, business requirements change, how we work with our clients change, clients also change, right? So this is a guide rather than a rule. We use this guide, and then based on this guide, we make a subjective decision based on the discussions. Does that make sense? So, for example, what I wanted to say with this example is that just because the RISE score for something is high doesn't mean automatically that it will be part of the next release. There are decisions around that. So, all right. So this is the high level process to add a feature request to AMP Impact. This is similar for other B2B enterprise products as well. What's actually missing in this process, because this is a little outdated, is the role of product analytics in this. We also have a analytics service set up for AMP Impact, which monitors the usage of AMP Impact across organizations. And looking at that dashboard, we can get some signals. We can get signals like which feature has the most error rates, like which feature is the most adopted, which clients are using which features, things like those. And if we see a problematic pattern there, or actually a good pattern there, that will also give us some indication. We'll take those indications, we'll go back to the advisory council or use these channels to validate those indications, or we'll talk to our users directly. We'll try to understand what's happening, and then based on that, we'll go through the same process, identify a bug or a tech debt or a new feature request, add that to the roadmap, and go through the same process again. Actually, let me add that. Yeah,
I have a question here. Yeah. So here, can AMP analytics be indirectly helpful for us to score, help us in RISE score, because it can tell us in a way that it's impacting this feature, like.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like it can give us a signal. It can direct, it can't, what it can't do is directly tell us if this new feature is going to be used by these many clients. But what it can tell us is how many clients would be impacted by it. We don't know the extent of that impact, but we can know for sure that, okay, these many clients would be impacted by this. And actually, let me show you how that worked when we were creating this, when we refreshed this roadmap somewhere like last year. So if you look at this mapping,
Yes.
you don't need to look at everything, but like this mapping comes from AMP Analytics. This data that there are existing 18 tier 1 clients who use project setup, existing 8 clients from tier 2 who use project setup. This data can come from analytics. Now, this won't tell me if I build a financial management feature, these 10 clients would want it. It might not be that, right? But I know that these 10 are using financial management, so they will be impacted by it. What I can do using this data is reach out to these 10 clients and then talk to them, do user interviews, and then try to figure out the extent of impact on them. So by that, I can establish my reach and impact.
Makes sense. So it can also help us enhancements. Let's say if we are making any enhancement in any particular object, so it will help us to reach out only those clients.
Exactly. It can help us identify the organizations that we should be talking to.
Cool. Thanks.
Great question. Cool. Before we go into rice scoring, because that's very specific to AMP Impact, and it's one of the ways that you do prioritization. There are many ways. You can do a simple must have, should have, could have classification to all these items. And actually, we have done that here, so you can see that. You can say that this is a must have and this is a should have based on discussions with these clients. And similarly, like there are many prioritization techniques available for product management. The one that we currently use is called RICE. And we saw what RICE means. So we'll go into the details of how we apply RICE for AMP Impact. But before going into that, let's talk about how understanding this process for prioritization helps you. If you are in the product team, you will be directly working on this. So you need to know how these are prioritized because you might need to do prioritization or you might be involved in prioritization at some point of time. But if you're not in the product team, you would be sending requirements to the products or you would be tracking the requirements which are relevant to your users or your clients, which are sitting as feature requests for the products. You're working with client XYZ and they ask you, what's happening with this request? Like I logged this 3 months ago. What's the status? When can we expect this to be resolved? Or when can we expect this new feature to be built? And they are asking you, why is it not built? What's the reason? Having an understanding of the broad road mapping process helps you have those conversations. You can tell them that we consider the requirements for all of our clients. We build our product in a way that it meets the needs of most of our clients, so we can't take specific requirements. You can once you understand how road mapping works, you can have an informed discussion. We also share some guidelines on talking about road mapping. It's on Confluence, so you can refer to those guidelines as well. But having a good understanding of this road mapping process will give you more confidence to talk about the features on roadmap and especially the ones that your clients are impacted by. Now, having said that, let's move to the prioritization framework that we use at AMP. Before we go into that, a big disclaimer that this is not for sharing externally. So please don't reveal to your clients that we use RICE prioritization. And actually, that is not like that bad. You can, doesn't really matter if you tell them like what prioritization that we use, but please don't tell them how clients are weighted or how this is the mathematical formula for establishing framework. The reason for that is we rate our clients and we don't want our clients to know what they're rating us. Like no product organization does that. I will walk you guys through the RICE framework, but again, please keep it to yourself. This is for your understanding and not for sharing with the clients. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Good, thanks. Cool. So we discussed what RICE means. It's a framework designed to determine which new features or enhancements are prioritized by scoring these on reach, impact, confidence, and effort. The formula for calculating RICE is reach into impact into confidence divided by effort. And you can see like reach has a direct correlation with the value that it's providing. Impact has a direct correlation with the value that it's providing. The confidence has a direct correlation. The effort has a negative correlation. So if the effort is too much, that means it's not providing that much value for the effort that we are putting into it. And this gives us a RISE score, which is representative of the value that this particular feature is providing to the clients for the effort that we are putting it in. Uh, a, a good example of this would be, let's say, we are building a totally new feature that's going to take 4 months to build. So in the effort, it would be divided by 4, and the reach can be, let's say, 4, impact is 2, confidence is 80%. So that means it's 6.4 divided by 4. This is your RISE score here. It would come out to be somewhere like 1.5, something like 1.3. Let's say there is this another one where the reach is not that much. The reach is just 2. The impact is just 1. The confidence, let's say, is just 50%. But we can build this in a day, right? Which means that the RISE, the effort is 1 by 30. So because the effort is this quite less, and it's providing like decent reach and impact, and we have decent confidence in this, the RISE score might be higher. Again, just having the RISE score higher doesn't automatically mean that we will build it. We'll take this to the discussions that we do with different teams and in the advisory council, and then we'll decide whether we should do this or not. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I have a question here.
Yeah, that's it.
So, what is the scale for RISE score? Is it until 4?
No, there is no scale for RISE score.
Oh.
Yeah, basically, like, because we can't really say that the reach can't be defined. The effort is also, the effort can't be defined, right? Like in theory, something can take 100 months to build. The biggest ones that we have in the backlog, they take 4 months to build. We don't really have epics longer than that. But in theory, it can be longer, right? The confidence is between 0 to 100. The impact can't really be defined. It depends on reach, how many clients it's impacting and what's the impact on that. But the impact for each individual client is between 1 to 5. And then reach again can't be defined. It be like, it's actually limited by the number of clients that we have for AMP impact. That's the maximum reach that you can have, but that can also increase with time. So again, that's also not between a range. And because these things are not between range, the RISE score is also not between a range.
Makes sense. Thank you.
But yeah, having said that, within a year, the RISE remains within a range. Like you can, once you have calculated RISE for all of your items on roadmap, you can probably establish like, okay, this is the range, and probably like for the next year, it's going to be there, because the reach is not going to change that much. The effort is not going to change that much. The confidence might change a little bit based on new information that we find, but this is the range that we are looking at. We can establish that.
Got it.
All right, so let's look at an example to understand how we calculate reach and other parameters. So reach is basically how many clients or prospects are expected to use this feature within a given period. Now, reach, how we calculate reach for AMP impact is very typical to a B2B enterprise organization. The reach that we calculate is a weighted reach, which basically means that not every client gets the same score. And now you can probably see why I said that please don't share it with our clients, because we don't want the weights to be known by clients, or the fact that they have weights to be known by clients. But because we have different ARRs, ARR basically means average recurring revenue, which basically means how much license fees they pay for AMP impact in a year. That is different for different clients based on their usage, the number of users that they have, and the type of organization that they are, the revenue that they have. Bigger organizations like UN agencies, Plan International, they would have a bigger ARR than a smaller organization using AMP Impact with limited number of users. They would have lesser ARR. We might also provide discounts to some organizations because they don't have that much revenue, but they can be a good partner to us. So based on ARR, they are tiered into 1, 2, and 3 tiers. If the ARR is greater than $50K, it's tier 1, 50 to 20K tier 2, less than 20K tier 3. But just ARR also doesn't define their weights or their tier. Um, we also track if that organization is of strategic importance for us. Now, this is a subjective decision that's made by the leadership team, but it's generally like if they are a UN agency, and if we get them, so it depends on like market situations and Vera's strategic direction, all those things. So by market situations, I mean like if they are a UN agency, we have those. If we have them as our client, it opens up the possibilities to get other UN agencies as clients as well, because UN agencies generally work like this. They show more confidence in Vera as an organization if we have previously served other UN agencies, if we have built solutions for them. So if they are a UN agency, they are a strategic client for us because we want to serve more of UN agencies. If they are a NetHope member, they can give us some networking. If they have a strategic alignment with Vera, they are working in a direction where we want to also see a lot of impact, then they are also a strategic partner to us. So if they are a strategic partner, they are automatically tier 1, irrespective of the ARR that they are contributing, or they can be tiered based on their ARR. So combined, we get tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So for example, if there's an organization tier 3 ARR, but if they are a strategic client to us, they become tier 1. When we identify these tiers, we assign weights to these clients. So weights are different for prospects and existing clients. The reason is that it's easier to retain a client than acquire a client. So for example, if there are 2 clients, quote unquote clients, one is an existing client and one is a prospect that I can probably acquire by putting in some effort. Retaining this client, I don't remember the exact figure, was some marketing study, like it's like 10x the effort to retain a client versus to acquire a new client. By basically serving these clients in a better way, we can retain these clients first and then also increase revenue from these clients as well. So right now, if they are in tier 3, they might bring in more projects on AMP Impact in the future. They might bring onboard new users to AMP Impact, and we might grow revenue with them. That is easier to do than acquire a totally new client. So yeah, basically based on that, it makes sense that we give more weightage to existing clients than our prospects. Also, prospects might not convert, even if they have high confidence, even if they have 75% probability of conversion, they might not convert. So we can't really just go by their needs. It needs to serve our existing clients as well. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. So yeah, we figure out which clients and prospects want a feature. We tag a particular feature with that. You can see it here. You can see that numerator denominator is wanted by a lot of clients and prospects. And then for each client and prospect, we have their respective weights. We add those weights, weighted scores, to create the final score. In this case, if ABC is an existing client, they have an ARR of 15K USD, but they are strategic for Vera. And because they are strategic, they are classified as tier 1. And if they are because they are existing client, their weight is 0.5. So tier 1 existing, weight is 0.5. XYZ is a prospect. Expected ARR is 60K. And because it's more than 50K, classified at tier S. But since they are prospect, the weight is 0.125. So the total RISE score for this feature, if it's wanted by ABC and XYZ only, it's 0.5 plus 0.125, So it's 0.625. This is how we calculate the reach score. Now, once we have reach, we identify the impact. Uh, Impact is determined based on ease of sale, ease of implementation, and customer satisfaction, and it's on the scale of 0.25 to 3. So a medium impact would be 1, massive impact would be 3, low impact would be 0.5, and minimal impact would be 0.25. Now, based on the discussions in the advisory council and when we are talking to the clients directly, we can establish this impact and assign a score. So if it comes up that for most of our clients, it's going to be medium impact, the score is going to be 1. Or if it's high impact, it's going to be 2. And again, like it also depends on the business impact. We can also counter that here. After that, it's confidence. Now, this is again based on judgment. The confidence is based on two things. How much confidence do we have in the problem? And how much confidence do we have in the solution? Creating a product is basically identifying the correct problem and then solving that problem in the correct way. So do we really understand the problem? Do we know that we are solving the right problem? If someone said that this is a problem for them, did we investigate and establish by talking to them and talking to other people from different organizations and from their organizations to really identify what the correct problem is? That will give us a lot of confidence if we have really identified that we really understand what the problem is. And then when we have identified the problem, have we identified what a good solution to that problem is? Because we are experts in Salesforce and building tech products, that's sort of our expertise. We have a development team with us, really great developers. So they know what an optimal solution is. We can also take help of the architect team and get some ideas from there. But identifying solutions is not that big of a problem for us. Establishing that we are solving the correct problems is something that takes validation and time. So we identified that this is the correct problem, this is the right way of solving this problem, both functionally and technically. Then the confidence is super high. In that case, the confidence would be somewhere like, let's say, 95%. One factor that I forgot for confidence is the developer's confidence in building this feature. It might be technically difficult to build. So let's say there's an organization that said that I want to look at the aggregated data from all my child projects at the program level, right? We can clearly establish the problem. We can talk and talk to users and identify what do they mean by aggregating data. Is it a simple sum? Is it a summary? Whatever that is, we can do research and we can identify. We can also functionally design this. We can create prototypes and mockups and validate that design with our users and internal stakeholders. But developers might say that current Salesforce technologies don't support this. We can't bring that data. This is a bad example because it probably can be done easily, but you can imagine a scenario where it's difficult to build. So yeah, you validate with developers, gauge their confidence in building this, and that also becomes part of the confidence score. But let's say we did all this and the confidence score comes out to be 80%, which means that whatever the RISE score is, whatever the reach and impact is, we will add 80% to it. Now, this is a good way of safeguarding ourselves and only building features that we are sure of. Otherwise, what might happen that we don't really understand the feature, we don't really have thought of good design, but we still build it because a lot of people want it and it's going to have a huge impact. Now, what will happen? We'll build this feature, but no one is going to use it because it's not solving a real problem or it's not solving the problem in the right way. So the confidence scores ensures that we are solving the problems in the correct way. And then effort. We talk to development team and the QA team, and then we identify what's the total effort which is going to be required to build this. We divide reach, impact, and confidence by that, and then we have our price score. We have an example here, like how price is calculated, but that's the most of it. Again, I would emphasize that this is confidential information here. So please don't share this with any external facing, either clients or partners or anyone. This is just for Waylights. All right, so that's it about road mapping and prioritization. I hope it helped you understand uh, how features or bugs make to a product release. Right? Sometimes it can be confusing. Like when you are in your day to day, it might be frustrating, and you can talk to consultants and they can tell you that it's true for them. Where it's you see a feature being prioritized over other, and it makes no sense to you, because for the clients that you work with, there is this other feature which is absolutely more important, and they have been asking for that for quite some time. So understanding how this whole process works makes you have those discussions in a more informed manner and more confidently. And again, you can come talk to us, the product team. If you don't understand anything, just send us a Slack, and we'll be happy to get on a call and let you understand why this works a certain way. And another thing, like when you are working on projects or with clients, if you hear of any requirements or any feedback, please share that with the product team. That is our main source of information. That's how we improve AMP impact over time. So yeah, whatever signals come your way from industry, from users, from our clients, please send that our way. You can send those in AMP roadmap channel on Slack. It's hashtag AMP dash roadmap. So, or you can send those to me personally or anyone in the product team. But if you use the roadmap channel, it will be easier for us to track. Or you can create a CS ticket if you want to. That also works. All right, we have quite a bit of time. We have around 25 minutes. I'm happy to stay back on the call if you have any questions about AMP impact, either with prioritization, road mapping, or anything else. Or if you generally want to talk about products, I can talk about that as well. I will stop recording.